Welcome to the Modern Interfaces for MV Applications, Part 1 presentation. My name is John Wells, and Part 1 of this presentation will focus on how you might affordably and on your budget and timetable modernize your MV applications with RESTful services. Part 2 of this presentation will be presented in another presentation and will describe how you can modernize with Microsoft's .NET environment. The reason there are so many MV applications in the industry, with many that are 10 to 30 plus years old, is that they provide great performance, ease of modifications to both the application and database, and they are fantastic applications. After all of the years of fine-tuning your application to be one of the most comprehensive applications in that business sector, you want to be able to move forward in modernizing your application to do what your competition is doing, as well as many of the other features you see in mobile and web applications today. See if any of these points are good reasons to start modernizing. Do customers see your existing application as old technology? Are you losing sales to competition with newer technology? Is it getting harder to find new developers and support staff for your technology and application? If your application has been around a while, you may wish you could update it, provide new features, run on mobile devices, and so on. Let me show you how you can achieve this. I know what you're probably thinking. It's going to be expensive and take too much time. It's not hard to find reasons why you can't modernize, but I hope in this presentation I can show you how you can begin to modernize on your budget and time frames. First, let's learn some terminology so you begin to understand what RESTful services are and a few of the terms associated with RESTful services. First off, a web service is an API, or application interface, that communicates with applications through the internet. A RESTful API is simply a type of web service, hence RESTful service. It passes information via a universal data format known as JSON. It uses a process called AJAX to send and receive data via RESTful services. So when your programmers using the same MV basic programming language on your current system write a RESTful service to send and or receive data from a mobile device, tablet, or web browser, they would be doing the same type of programming they're doing now, only using some additional basic calls or interfaces to create and read JSON strings. And that's how all of your modernizing can be built. Because these are universal processes, the people involved already understand how to build an application and receive and send useful services. Let's see what this tool looks like, and don't worry that some of the text on the terminal side of the screen is hard to read. This presentation isn't about learning to code RESTful services, but giving you understanding of RESTful services so you can visualize modernizing your application. On the terminal side of the screen is where your MV developers currently work. This is where the meat and potatoes of your application lives. Your application is connected to an MV application and database server that currently has the name JBase on this screen. The MV application and database server can be any MV server that has a web service connector to provide RESTful services to the application. On the right side of the screen is where a mobile or web application can receive or send JSON strings, just as on the terminal side of the screen, it too can send and receive JSON objects. This information will tell the applications on both sides what they are requesting and the data that is being requested. Let's talk about an example of what can be done right now without any changes to your existing application. Let's say you'd like to create reports for upper management on how much business was done last week or where the company is on completing the tasks that have been laid out. You could probably come up with hundreds of different scenarios for this type of information. So to start, your developer creates a RESTful service in MV Basic on your MV server, a normal course of work for your developer. Next, an application is built on a web page or a mobile device by a web developer to request that information via a RESTful service. Because web developers already understand JSON and RESTful services, they can start developing immediately. The options are limitless for what you can do without touching your existing application. The important piece of information to take away is that some of the modernizing can be done without affecting your existing application, allowing you to start right away. Because RESTful services and JSON are universal ways to transfer data between your MV system and the web applications, the people involved already understand these concepts and can begin without knowing anything about your application or data. The web developer's job is to create a request point, such as menus, and an output, such as data entry screens or reports, for what you want to provide via a JSON object and RESTful service. The MV programmer's job is to create a normal basic subroutine to capture the RESTful service request and send back the JSON data response to the web application. You can also take small sections of your application and slowly, one form at a time, just begin building out your application until an entire section is completed. Possibly a small section will be independent enough to use from a mobile or web application. Over time, you'll have your application completely modernized if you take this approach and on your budget and time frame. Let me share some examples I'm familiar with that use web services. Insurance companies, without changing their applications, are allowing customers to send back pictures and filled out data forms regarding an accident they just had to the insurance claims adjuster. They can do this right at the time of the accident, when the pictures and information are most doable, providing processed claim in days instead of weeks. Mortgage companies are now allowing their clients to fill in applications and loan requests online, allowing the approval to be done in minutes instead of days or weeks. Again, all without changing existing applications. Salespeople are making calls on customers with full brochures and product selections that they can enter immediately into a quote. They are bringing samples that users can see and touch, and using barcode readers, scan into the quote the products the customers have selected. This allows the sales team the ability to provide a quote at that instance, improving the sales and customer experience without changing their existing application. Some other ideas might be a new employee application or change of insurance for an existing employee for HR. You can provide customer input screens for information you don't currently request via your application or information you do request, but allowing new features to enhance that process. Possibly your current staff will be excited to begin this type of development, may even want to learn web development. The ability to have an application that can also be done in the web development languages allows you freedom to hire people who may not know MV languages when they first start. They can begin developing your web device applications. There really is an incredible amount of APIs that can be used with web-developed applications that can greatly enhance your MV application. Things like maps, language translation, social media outlets, remote files, and so on. Go to the link near the bottom of the page on this screen, and you can page through pages of different APIs available to you. So now let's show what a RESTful service and JSON file look like. This isn't a complete example of an MV basic program RESTful service call, but it shows that there's nothing new here but a few different subroutine calls. Therefore, your MV basic programmer can start writing RESTful services with just a short introduction of how the JSON subroutine interface works. It's possible not all web service connectors will provide a library of subroutines for the programmer to use, but they will provide an interface for the programmer to use so the programmer can do this using MV languages. So in all practicality, having a web service connection to use RESTful services gets you just about halfway there. The other half is having a web developer create their web application entry points, such as menu options and data outputs, such as reports and data entry screens. So here is what we've been talking about with JSON. On the left side of the screen is an example of an AJAX routine to call the RESTful service that has been written in MV Basic by your programmer. Notice the get cust URL line. If we go back to our basic program, we see on the top of that basic program a subroutine called the get cust. This is how the URL that is being sent by the web developer knows how to get to the RESTful service on the MV server side. Now, the JSON file in the middle of the screen is a file being returned to the web developer. It's a file being returned to the web developer will have the information for the customer display on the web page or mobile device. The JSON file is just a text string containing data and what the data is. Also notice the cuss comments in the middle of the string. This is how JSON multivalues data, and it can do this with an infinite set of multi-value data. Also, in looking at the cuss comments, imagine each of these cuss comments values being a row on a report. The JSON file could have hundreds or thousands of rows of data for a report put into a JSON string such as this one. With RESTful services, you can provide data entry screens such as this one with a limitless set of APIs to show even more data. You can show reports and data with bar graphs, pie charts, maps, etc. You can use images to show information to make your output more creative and easily understandable to the user. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you can now see a way that you can begin to modernize your application. If you would like to learn more, please contact us at Zumasys or go to Zumasys.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to watch part 2 of Modernizing Your Application.